So hi Abhishek, congratulations on the massive 750 score with a Q51 and a V40. How do you feel?
I feel relieved. Yeah, that's what I feel. It's been a roller coaster journey. And to be very honest, I was nervous till the point I like hit the submit button of my AWA. And when I saw the screen, I was really relieved. I started my journey last year,
Mhm,
and it was a, I would say, not a very smooth journey. Like
mhm.
some people do get it right the first time. Since I'm a retaker, it was a little bit of roller coaster journey, but thankfully it's over now. I can move on to the next phase of B school application process. But yeah, I think relieved is the word that I will use.
I can imagine that sense of relief because I know you've been working for quite a while now.
Right.
You took your first attempt in September of last year where you scored a 690. So
Right.
let's start there, right? How did you really prepare for that first attempt and what do you think, you know, led to an undesirable outcome?
Right. So uh, I think it was mostly because of the way I prepped.
Mm-hmm,
I spent just 2 weeks just going through OG questions, some GMAT club questions. That was it. Took a couple of mocks, and that was the whole preparation for my first attempt. Uh, and I think that was like a very raw approach in my
mm-hmm,
mind,
mm-hmm.
uh, because like I think most of the time I was just going with my gut feeling and guessing. So I did not really know whether I was selecting the right answer for the right reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was the key. Uh, I think that was kind of the challenge that I faced during my first attempt.
Mm-hmm.
But moving to the second attempt, I think it was a more thought through approach. I really researched, like, even before going into the prep phase, like what do I need to do,
Mm-hmm.
uh, right? And what I realized was solving numerous questions is not going to help me because I've already tried that approach, right? So that's where few friends and colleagues of mine, they referred me to e-GMAT's platform,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and used it extensively. So you can see that I used it extensively, and kind of went and changed my approach, went to my basics, got my basics right, uh, was thorough with the techniques,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and made sure that uh, I kind of, you know, uh, internalize those techniques,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that because GMAT doesn't allow you to, research at the time of the exam. So you need to do your homework before going to appear for the GMAT exam.
Absolutely.
So that's what I did. I did my homework before going to the exam. Last time I did not do that.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking I'll probably give it a shot during the exam, and I'll get past it. But GMAT is not very lenient in that case.
Mhm.
So I did my homework before the exam this time, and thankfully it paid off.
That's really true. So you, for those who don't know, you started out with a 690 score with a Q50 and a V34. And then, you progressed not just to a V40, but you also managed to improve by 1 point to a Q51, which is the kind of score only the top 3% of test takers can even get to. So let's talk about verbal first, because that was really where the massive jump was, right? How did the e-GMAT verbal course really help you get from that 34 to a 40? What helped you?
Right. So there are three things, right? If I just need to categorize them, like kind of the step-by-step approach that I followed.
Mm-hmm.
First is the basics, right?
Mhm.
I know like being a decent student, like throughout school or in academics in general, I was a little bit overconfident that uh, uh, that English wasn't that weak for me,
Mhm.
right? But that isn't the case. Like when you're appearing for an exam, like GMAT specifically, there are a lot of nuances that you will need to know.
Yes.
And even more than nuances, there are a lot of techniques that you should know, right? So that's what I did. I did not solve any questions during the second phase of my preparation.
Mhm.
I did not solve questions immediately starting my preparation. uh, I went back, I saw all the videos of e-GMAT, and tried to make sure that I uh, I become thorough with them,
Mhm.
all the topics, right? So that was my first step, like get my basics right,
Mhm.
right? Second was I tried to understand what's my weakness, right? uh, like coming to my weakness, I knew that CR was like I was able to do it correctly most of the time.
Mhm.
uh, but and even for RC, uh, I was good at it. But then when I checked my accuracy, right? And it's not really accuracy about like you give an exam one time and you see what your accuracy is. It needs to be consistent, maybe 2 or 3 times, right?
Yes,
uh,
absolutely.
that's what I observed. Even RC wasn't my strong suit, right? And that's how and the Scholaranium platform kind of gives you that view, like what's your accuracy been maybe last 2 or 3 attempts, right?
Mhm.
That's how I understood like okay, sentence correction and reading comprehension, both are my weaknesses, right?
Mhm.
And that's where I really paid my attention this time, right?
Mhm.
Again, I build my basics for all the three subsections, right?
Mhm.
And then I tested my accuracy, because see, like you can build your foundation, right? But then
Yes.
in GMAT exam, it's a timed environment, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So although you might feel good about a particular subsection, but in a time and environment, you might not get the accuracy that you want to achieve. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so that's what I understood or tried to figure out, like which subsection is my weakness, and I like kind of strategized my preparation according to those weakness areas,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And then the third thing is really once I was confident
Mhm.
about these areas as well, like, okay, I have built my basics, right? Even subsection wise, I'm doing well enough, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Now, what I did was I tried to make myself test ready, right?
Mhm.
That is where you take like a combination of different questions in a timed environment and see where your accuracy lies, right?
Yeah.
So I think
Absolutely.
that's how I kind of strategized my approach this time. And you might observe that I did not really focus on the quantity of questions that I was solving.
Yes.
It
No,
was
absolutely. Let's
it was
let's show people actually.
yeah.
So if we actually show people what your account looks like, then this is your verbal Scholaranium. And this is all the questions that you did, including that cementing, including all 5 mocks and your test readiness. You've solved about 300 questions, for each subsection. And despite solving what a lot of people might feel is a lesser number of questions, your accuracy is just really phenomenal, right? You're
Right.
consistently showing that you're in that 75th to 90th percentile across these different subsections. And even in your course attempts as well, I can see really how much effort you've put in through, the fact that you've completed the entire course and these frankly amazing scores in your concept and practice quizzes. So across the board, you've done really, really well. And you've really, as you said, put in that effort to get those basics right.
Right.
Yeah. So, so all of these three approaches, right? The meaning-based approach, the pre-thinking approach, the reading strategies, they really helped get you to that kind of level. And then cementing was, I assume, a very, very important part of mastering that
Right.
application in the timed environment.
Right. Right. I think, yeah, I think you pretty much described the first two steps in my approach. Uh, like the techniques, of course, that really helped because that was kind of the homework that I needed to do before going to GMAT. Because, as I said earlier, every question was new to me,
Mhm,
and I had to, like, internally in my mind, I had to start from scratch.
mhm.
But once I knew these techniques, it was like, whatever questions GMAT was throwing to me,
Yeah.
it wasn't a new question. Right. uh, I just needed to figure out what's the approach that I need to follow for this question, right? That's how, I would say, I trained myself to, like, kind of figure out the kind of questions during GMAT. So I think
Mhm,
that's the first phase, and the second is cementing, right? Cementing was really helpful because that kind of helped me in internalizing those techniques. I
mhm.
mean, knowing those techniques is fine, but GMAT really gives you like 1.5 minutes per question. So you cannot spend like half a minute trying to figure out or remember what's the technique is for this, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's where cementing kind of helped me, like how quickly can I, figure out the kind of question or the pattern of question, and then maybe spend the rest of the time. So it kind of helped me in spending more time in solving the question rather than, figuring out the type of question. So that kind of helped in time management as well.
So it basically helped you understand, it gave you that same playing field. You were able to get yourself really, really comfortable. So consistently, quiz on quiz, you were able to deliver that kind of success, which is
Right.
really amazing. You've really done that part well, quite frankly. And this is not just in verbal, right? Even in quant, where you were started out at a Q50, which is an amazing, amazing score, you used pretty much the entire course, a lot of Scholaranium. You followed that process again, and you improved to a Q51. So how was that? How was the course, the Scholaranium platform, all of that able to help you, considering you were already at such a high starting point for quant?
Right, right. I will say, there are two things here.
Mm-hmm.
First is, again, Q50 is fine, but it was mostly because, like, I come from a quant background, so I was able to achieve Q50. But I'll get to a bigger point later on. But I think the first point is, again, uh, Q50, I mean Q51, to achieve that, even for that, you need to understand your weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And for quant as well, I got my basics right this time. Earlier, when I said that I had prep for 2 weeks, I spent most of my time on verbal, which is
Mm-hmm.
true this time as well. But I made sure that I spent time on quant as well. So I gave that room to me to understand, like, are there any weaknesses? So I did not want to leave any stones untouched. I tried to understand, do I have any weakness in quant as well? I know I'm doing good, but let's see, do I have any weakness or not? That is where I kind of figured out that, okay, you feel that you are good at some subsections,
Mm-hmm.
but when it comes to a timed environment, right, uh, you spend a little bit of more mental energy than is required to solve those questions. So that's where I understood, okay, like, I feel that I know this subsection pretty well, but I think, like, in a timed environment, um, my accuracy won't be that high. So even for that, I followed a similar approach. I will say the same approach as verbal.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it took me a little bit less time compared to verbal because already I was at a Q50.
Yeah.
But it definitely helped me in building that confidence. Okay, like, now I know that these are the kind of questions that I'm not good at, or my accuracy is not good at, given questions are thrown at me in a timed environment, right? So I built my accuracy in those areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And B, I made myself aware that okay, these are the questions. Maybe if it comes at you, uh, maybe you can leave, you can skip,
Mm-hmm.
spend more time on some other question, improve your accuracy, right? So this is the first thing.
Yep.
Second thing is, uh, during my GMAT exam, I always go for quant first.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I do that because I feel like if I go for verbal first,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I haven't really, warmed up my mental muscles, so I might not get that accuracy.
Makes sense.
So that's what I do in general. What I observed was, like, because of all the homework that I did, of course, quant kind of helped me warm up my mental muscles, but it did not, like, made me fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, come the second section, of course, I was warmed up, but I wasn't fatigued. So I did not lose that much of mental energy during the first section itself because I had done all my homework before. So I
Mm-hmm.
think these are the two things that kind of helped me. So preparing for quant not only helped me in increasing the quant score, but also kind of helped me in easing through the rest of the sections of the exam.
Right. So that's really amazing, right? So it not, like you said, it didn't just get you that score increase, but because you achieved that kind of level of mastery, and as well as those really good test taking techniques of when you need to skip a question, you were able to not just improve in quant, but also improve your ability to perform in your verbal subsection. And I assume later in IR and AWA as well, you had a
Right,
little more mental space to do well.
right,
Yeah.
right,
So I know that you use the course, you use Scholaranium, but you were also part of the LM program wherein I was your mentor. So in the last couple of weeks of your prep, you had a little bit of extra guidance. So
right,
how would you say that that kind of helped you get a bit of a leg up or a bit of improvement towards the end?
right. So, um, I think, see, GMAT is frustrating.
Yes. Yes,
GMAT is
it can.
it's frustrating, and 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 I was really concerned,
Mhm.
because I know, like, last year I had tried it, and this year also I was preparing for it, and it kind of gets to you.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I guess.
so I think you reached out at the right point, when I was kind of, I know, like, wasn't thinking straight,
Mhm.
like what should be my next step.
Mhm.
I know I had to, like, give the exam in like 2 weeks, uh, but I think that's where we had the call. We kind of discussed what all I had done, where I was, kind of went through the Scholaranium platform. And I think then we figured out like a very hyper specific plan,
Mhm.
like what is that extra effort that is required. So, like, just to summarize, I would say, it kind of helped me, or it gave the direction it needed
Mhm.
during the last phase of the journey, right?
Mhm.
Maybe I was probably thinking I will probably relax for a week or so and then give the exam. But definitely the kind of help that was provided by you, and I think that was very helpful in achieving my target score.
Great. I'm glad I could help. So, there was this huge lead up to your actual exam wherein you focused on the right things, you focused on mastering your applications, building your stamina, all those test taking strategies with a little bit of extra input. So, when you actually went into the test itself, how is it different from your first attempt? What changed? What
Right,
did you feel was really helpful or positive?
right. So, of course, this time I took it online.
Mhm.
So I kind of changed a little bit of strategy. It was much more relaxing actually while giving the test online. I did not have to travel. I did not have to think about, all the traffic that's going to be.
Can't imagine. As someone who lives in a very traffic heavy city, I get that
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah. So I did not have to do anything like that. I spent my morning doing yoga, tried to, calm my mind,
Hmm.
um, did a little bit of exercise and then tried few questions before my exam, just so that I'm ready.
Hmm.
My mental muscles are warmed enough. So I did that, and then I just went to my room and started the exam. It was as easy as that. So definitely that kind of helped with regards to my mental state of mind.
Hmm.
And again, this time, since I had done my homework before, uh, it felt like I knew what I was doing this time, right? Because GMAT is, I think, close to 3 hours of exam,
Hmm.
and towards the third or fourth section of the exam, mental fatigue comes in, and that is inevitable. So
Absolutely. Hmm.
because I had done my exam, I was able to, kind of build my mental muscles,
Hmm.
and did not feel I was fatigued. So I was kind of able to divide my energy across sections. So that was, I think, one of the key difference when it came to the actual GMAT exam experience this time. And that is why I think even my AWA this time is higher than last time. So
I mean, you got a 6, so I would say that there's no going up from that point.
right, right. So I
So,
think, yeah, it kind of helped me in all the sections equally, I would say.
great. It's always great to see those kind of positive stories about the online exam, because a lot of people don't have a very positive experience with it,
Right,
but you understood why it worked for you. You took that data from your last exam and you made this what to some people is a very uncomfortable test taking environment. You made it work to your benefit, and it paid off in a
right,
massive way, right?
right,
So, I mean, from what I can see from your story, you've done really great things. You've taken the data, you've analyzed it, you've made the right inferences, and you were willing to let go of what you thought was right, what you thought was the right approach, and develop those new habits to get you to success.
right.
So, considering all these amazing things that you've done, what do you want to tell test takers, people who are taking for the first time or whether they're retaking? What should they know before they embark on this GMAT journey?
Right. I think a couple of things. First is, forget about what are the preconceived notions that you have about yourself, right?
Mhm.
Don't trust your preconceived notions. Uh, Go by the fact that where you stand currently, right? Uh, so don't, and also the other thing is, don't right away jump into questions.
Mhm.
Those are the two main piece of advice for those who are, starting their GMAT prep journey right now. uh, I think what the correct way should be to understand what your weaknesses are, build a strong foundation, and then start taking up questions, because you might spend a lot of time, or uh, try, answering a lot of questions, and the other fact is, you might also get it right when you're solving questions during your prep phase. uh, and GMAT is kind of notorious that way. it will it will it will make you feel like, okay, you are doing superb during your prep phase. But the actual exam is a little different.
Mhm.
So that is why I will advise that build your strong foundation, right? And then go and answer or solve questions. That is where it will help you,
Mhm.
right? Otherwise, like, see, GMAT questions are not that difficult. It's not like calculus where you need to, understand what differentiation is, integration is, and then you solve a question. You can solve a question, but that's not the point. The point is to improve accuracy.
Mhm.
Also, GMAT is not a test of individual question. It's about a full length question which has like 70-75 questions. So you need to also strategize that way. So that's what I will advise. Don't just directly go and solve questions. You might get most of them right during your prep phase, but you don't know whether you're getting right for the right reason, right?
Spot on. Yes.
That is where building a strong foundation will actually help you in your actual test. So that will be my first piece of advice. Second is, uh, we should also try to build some room
Mhm.
in order to form a strategy that you
Mhm.
will use during your actual exam, because GMAT is not about a single question, it's about your end-to-end examination, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that is, and that is, this is something that you will be able to do once you have reached a desirable level of accuracy, right? You have reached a desirable level of accuracy, you know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. That is where you can play around and build a strategy on how you will approach an exam. uh, Again, GMAT is not about how good you are
Mhm.
in verbal or how good you are in quant. You might have a PhD in mathematics or PhD in English, but GMAT is a different ball game altogether. It doesn't test your superior ability in quant or verbal. It tests your decision making ability, and it tests your ability to strategize across different types of questions that GMAT throws at you. And again, that's why GMAT is an adaptive test.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
and your score also kind of depends on how how your accuracy is during the first phase of the exam, or maybe second quarter of the exam. Your score also depends on that.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the second piece of advice that will come towards the later phase of the journey. But I think if you spend some time building your strategy, that
Mhm.
will also help during your final exam.
Yeah, that's really well said. I think you've covered something for everyone at every stage of their GMAT prep, whether they're just starting out, whether they're in the middle, whether they're towards the end. You've given something for pretty much everybody, right? So really, really well said, Abhishek. So I think, this is where we kind of sign off. Congratulations again on
Thank
the
you.
amazing, amazing score, and all the best for your B School applications. Do
Sure.
reach out and let us know how that goes.
Yep.
And to everyone out there, all the best and happy learning.
Yep. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye
Bye.
bye.